All right, today we're going to learn how to find the last part of that percent equation, which is the whole or the total. So our learning target for today is I can find the whole when given the percent and the part. Okay, in order to do this, we're going to use a double number line. I mentioned this in a previous lesson. However, if we forget what a double number line is, it looks something like this. Okay, where there's just two number lines like stacked on top of each other. Okay, and they're going to express equivalent ratios or rates or something. So 5 to 2 is equal to 20 to 8. Okay, one thing about number lines is they have to be, or a double number line, they have to be true number lines. So notice how it's counting by 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, we can't just skip around because it is a true number line. All right, so now we're just going to fill in these blanks kind of with what I was just explaining to you. So it is created with two lines stacked on top of each other. Okay, like this and this. It needs to be a true number line. This means it must count by equal increments or tick marks. So like I said, for this cranberry juice, it's counting by 5s. Soda water is counting by 2. It depends on what that ratio is, but we do need to have equal increments on the top and equal increments on the bottom. The top and bottom now do not have to be equal to each other. Like we can notice that there's 5 up here, it's counting by 5s, and 2's down here. That's really just going to depend on the ratio that you have, but they do need to be counting by equal on both the top and bottom. Okay. Now let's remember our percent equation from that very first lesson that we learned. It was percent times the whole equals the part. Okay, and today we're learning how to find that whole or the total. All right, so yesterday we learned how to find the part. The day before was yesterday we learned how to find the percent. The day before was the part. So this is our last lesson for these percentage problems. We use a double number line to find the whole when given a percent or part, and that whole is just the same thing as a total. So write that down too, just in case we forget like what that whole means. All right, so let's just go into some examples. I think that this will make a lot more sense once you see an example of it. So this type of question is going to say 20% of what number, because this is our whole, this is our total. So 20% of what number is 50. Okay, what this means is that 20%, and we kind of like take out this of what number, and it reads 20% is 50. Okay, so this means that 20% is 50. And this is super important to be able to pull out that information because that's how we're going to set up our double number line. All right, so let's just start by drawing two number lines on top of each other. Now they do not need to be like perfectly straight, okay, just as long as we get the point. We're going to label them because we do have to label our number lines. The top line I always like to use for my percent, just so that I never get confused. I like to always have it in the same place. So the top number is going to be percent, and since we don't have any units here, we're just going to label the second one a number. This is a number sign, not just a hashtag. All right, so we're going to start at 0, 0. Percent is 0, the number is 0. Okay, and we want to know 20% is 50. Okay, so they tell us that 20% is equal to 50. Okay, so well, this makes it super easy for us just to count by 20s until we get up to 100%, because 100% is going to be the whole, okay, that total, because percent is out of 100. All right, so if we count up to 40%, we would do plus 50, 100, or times 2 would be that. 60, because we're counting by 20s. Here we're counting by 50s. So 150, this would be 80, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Then we're counting by 50s, 100, 150, 200. And last but not least, and this is going to be our answer, 250. Okay. Biggest thing to do is to be able to pull out this information for where to start. Okay. And I always just like to write it. So for these examples and for the first couple on your practice today, you're going to be pulling out that information and actually writing 20% is 50. okay, so that we don't get confused on what information we need. And then also knowing that 100% is always going to be equal to that whole or that total, okay, because percent is out of 100. So 100% of a number is that number. So for example, 100% of 4 is 4, okay, because that's the total. That's what it's out of. Right. All right, let's try another one. If you feel like you've got the hang of this, I want you to pause the video and try this on your own, and then check after. But if you still need one more example to guide you through, that is totally okay. All right, here we have 40%. I'm just going to start with my number lines. Then I'm going to head back up and pull out our information. 40% of what number is 16? This means 40% is 16. Okay, again, I'm going to put my percent on top. I like it just to always be in the same place. And again, we don't have a label here, so we're just going to put number. Okay, starting at 0 always. And we know we have to end at 100% because that is what's going to be our answer. Okay. Now we have 40%. And if we count by 40s, are we going to be able to get to 100 equally? No, we're not. Okay, but we could count by 20s again, and we would have that 40 like right around here, which is 16. Okay, but we do need to fill in what that 20 would be because it's a number line. All right, well, to go from 40 to 20, we're dividing by 2. So if we divide 16 by 2, we would get 8. All right, and now we can just count by 20s because we know 20 is worth 8. So 60 would be 8 more than 16, which is 24. 80 would be 8 more than 24, which is 32. And then 100 would be 8 more than 32, which is 40. Now notice my spacing is not perfect. That's okay. As long as we have all of our equal increments or our equal tick marks on the top and bottom, we're good to go. Okay, so 40% of the number 40 is 16. That's what this problem means. Okay. All right, if you're feeling comfortable, pause the video. I want you to try this one on your own. If you need to see me set it up and see how I'm going to count and then pause the video, that's fine too. But I want you guys to really start trying some of these on your own because that is how you learn. All right. So here we have 75% of what number is 30. We're going to kind of take out that of what number so we can get that information. 75% is 30. Okay, then we're going to draw our 2 lines. We have percent on the top, number on the bottom, starting at 0, ending at 100, and that's going to be our answer for this kind of problem. All right, so here we have 75%. So we can't count by 75% to get it up to 100. It doesn't go into 100 evenly, okay? But if you think of 75 as a multiple, meaning an answer to a multiplication problem, there is a number that can count up to 75, okay? As we are counting, where the next jump would be 100. I want you to think about like money if you haven't caught on to what I'm trying to say quite yet. All right, think about money. And we're talking like quarters, right? So we can count by 25s. So if we went 0, 25, 50, 75, 100, we're counting by 25s up here. And they said 75% is 30. Okay, so we have to ask ourselves, how do we go from 75 to 25? Well, that's going to be, and if we can't figure that out right away, think of 25 times what is 75, and think of how many quarters 75 is, 75 cents is, and it's times 3, but we're going backwards, sorry. So it's going to be divide by 3. Okay, what we do on the top, we're going to do on the bottom to get that tick mark, divide by 3. So we have 30 divided by 3, which is 10. All right. And then we would have 25 times 2 is 50. Now you don't have to show these jumps if you can do this mentally, but if the jumping helps your brain process like what we're doing on the top and bottom, absolutely show that. So here we're going to have 10 times 2 is 20. Now we're going to notice pattern. We are counting by tens, 10, 20, 30. So this last one, which would be our answer, is 40 again. Okay, make sure you circle it on your double number line, because if you just have a number line with nothing circled, I have no idea. I mean, I do know that your answer should be 100%, but I don't know that you know that. Okay, so if you don't circle that answer, I don't know which one of these numbers you think is the answer. Okay, all right, last one. This one, I want you to try on your own. Okay, at least try setting it up. You can always check. It's okay to be wrong. But again, you're going to learn by guessing and checking rather than just watching me do it. All right, so let's start off with the information. Grace is taking a test. The progress bar at the top. So like think about big ideas. It tells you up at the top of the screen like how many problems you've completed, and sometimes like your test will say the percent that you've completed, like a standardized test or something. So it says that she's 25% complete. If she is on question 15, how many questions are on the test? Okay, so we have our percent, 25%. And she's on question 15, which is the part of the test. And they want to know the whole or the total number of questions on the test. So that's our important information. All right, so we're going to set it up with that is statement. Okay, some percent is what? So 25% is 15, and that's super important to be able to pick out that information. Let's make our two double lines. We have our percent on the top. And this one we do have a label. So it's not just a number, it is questions. So we do want to label it questions. And that'll just really help us label our answer at the end. Okay, and make meaning of the problem. Start at 0, 0. We want that whole, so our answer is going to be 100%. All right, we have 25%. Can we count by 25% to get equally into 100? Yes, we can. Made it nice and easy for you. So we'd go 25, 50, 75. It says 25 is 15. So under the 25, I'm going to put 15 because 25% is 15. All right. Here I'm going times 2. So here I'm going to go times 2. And I will get 30. All right. By now I can either do one of two things. I can check the pattern, so it's plus 15, plus 15, so this one should probably be plus 15 because we're counting by 15s. But I could also do 25 times 3 is 75 just to make sure, and then do 15 times 3 to get 45. Okay, and it does look like we're counting by 15s because it has to be a pattern. So this next one we would just add 15 onto it. Or we could do 25 times 4 is 100. 15 times 4 is 60. Here's where we could not just keep our answer on that number line. We would have to pull it out and label it 60 questions. And I know I'm writing off the paper. I apologize. Okay, so that would be our answer for that one. All right, if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, you may start writing your summary, maybe talking about how to set up a double number line, how we pull information out of problems by using our is statement, or anything else that you learned today that was valuable to you knowing how to do this process.